Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. Hope you guys are staying safe. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you saw the Errol Spence Manny Pacquiao press conference. I'm going to be doing a couple of videos about it to discuss it. Manny Pacquiao made a very a controversial kind of point in there. He basically said that, but let me take you back. Floyd Mayweather said that he's backing Errol Spence to win, and he will be giving Errol Spence advice on how to, or giving him a few pointers on how to beat Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao responded to that, I don't think Errol Spence needs any advice from Mayweather. There's not much he can give to him, and he feels that Errol Spence is a better fighter than Mayweather. Now that, for me, is obviously Manny Pacquiao taking a dig at Floyd Mayweather. A lot of Mayweather fans aren't going to be happy hearing that. I do think Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather are, obviously don't see eye to eye. We know that they've had their spats before. Floyd said certain things about Manny Pacquiao, and Manny Pacquiao's taking a dig at him. Do I think that Errol Spence is a better fighter than Floyd Mayweather? Absolutely not. Errol Spence isn't a better fighter than Floyd Mayweather, and I don't think Manny believes that. I think Manny's just taking a dig at Floyd Mayweather. I think he knows that Floyd was a very good fighter, and I personally don't. I think what Pacquiao meant is that Errol Spence is an aggressive fighter. Errol Spence is a proper fighter, whereas Floyd Mayweather, like he said, he's not a fighter. He believes he's not a fighter. He likes to, move and not fight toe-to-toe, because he did say that, Errol Spence will teach Mayweather how to fight toe-to-toe. And I think Errol Spence made a good point that Manny Pacquiao is very good at buttering you up. But, he said, I appreciate the compliment. Surely Errol Spence can't think that he's better than Floyd Mayweather. Now, as a fighter, fighters are delusional. That they like to big themselves up. But I know that I'm pretty certain that Errol Spence doesn't think he's better than Floyd Mayweather, or he hasn't proven that yet. Anyway, who knows what Errol Spence's legacy and what Errol Spence goes on to do in the sport of boxing. But right now, I'm pretty sure Errol Spence knows that he's not as good as Floyd Mayweather. I'm pretty sure he believes he can be on that same level, if not surpass him. But as of right now, I think Errol Spence knows that he's nowhere near Floyd Mayweather's level. But Errol Spence made a good point that Manny Pacquiao is very good at buttering you up. But then when it comes to in the ring, he puts it all on you. So Errol Spence, although he's taken the praise from Manny Pacquiao and says it's great praise that he's given me, he knows what Manny Pacquiao does inside that ring. But coming back to Manny Pacquiao's point, I personally think it was more Manny having a dig at Mayweather's style by saying that he's not a fighter. He moves around, he likes to box and move around, but he's not a fighting man. He doesn't like to fight, where Errol Spence likes to fight. Errol Spence likes to get into a toe-to-toe, have a scrap. And we have seen Errol Spence does. Errol Spence can box as well, but he's not as elusive as Mayweather. He's not as good as Mayweather. He's not as fast as Mayweather. He's not as athletic as Mayweather. His defense is nowhere near as good as Mayweather. He's not as sharp counter-puncher as Mayweather. Mayweather is a far more complete fighter than Errol Spence. Errol Spence is bigger than Floyd. Errol Spence is physically stronger than Floyd, but is Errol Spence a better boxer than Floyd? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Floyd is far better than Errol Spence, and Manny Pacquiao knows that. Manny Pacquiao, since he fought Floyd Mayweather, I think the Floyd Mayweather style for Manny Pacquiao was very difficult, because Manny likes fighters that are aggressive, that come to him, that like to have a fight, where Floyd Mayweather didn't. Floyd Mayweather didn't engage with Manny Pacquiao. This is what Floyd Mayweather did with Manny Pacquiao, right? He was moving from side to side. He had a lot of movement. There was a lot of movement when he fought Manny, and whenever Manny got close, he would either duck below him, get out, so he'd duck underneath, so he'd avoid Manny Pacquiao's punches by clinching him, right, or ducking underneath and just getting away. And there was a lot of moving around. And Pacquiao at times in that fight was, putting his fist together and telling Mayweather, let's fight, let's fight. Because Mayweather just wasn't willing to engage. Mayweather was looking to win that fight. Safety. It was all about safety. It was all about, not getting hit. It was all about scoring the points, countering Manny, and getting away. Landing a few, getting away. Landing a couple shots, getting away. Landing a couple of shots, getting away. That's the kind of tactics Mayweather had. He wanted to completely snub and snuff Manny Pacquiao out in that fight. He didn't want to give Manny Pacquiao any chance. That's why whenever Manny got close to him, he would grab hold. At times, he would duck underneath and get out of the firing line. That's what Mayweather was doing. He was ducking underneath or grabbing hold. So Manny Pacquiao really struggled to land any shots in that fight. Or unlike most guys that got in the ring with Manny Pacquiao was able to land a lot more punches. With Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao really struggled to land the punches because this is what the tactic that Mayweather was using. He was either grabbing hold or ducking underneath and getting out. Errol Spence could do that as well. Errol Spence could potentially, if Manny gets close to him, he could grab hold and then try to fight Manny at a distance and just jab Manny. You use the jab, hit him with 1-2. I don't think Errol Spence is anywhere near as good as Mayweather at that game. I think there'll come a point where Manny Pacquiao will pin Errol Spence. I don't think Errol Spence. I think Errol Spence is good enough to do that, but I'm not sure he's good enough to do that against Manny Pacquiao. Whereas I think Floyd was. I think Floyd's a master at doing that. Pot-shotting you and getting away. And that's what he did with Manny. That's why Manny was so frustrated in that fight, because Manny just couldn't get to Floyd. He just couldn't get to terms with what Floyd was doing. Floyd was so smart, so sharp in that fight. And like I said, that's what Floyd was doing. Every time Manny got close, he would grab hold of Manny Pacquiao. And if he's not grabbing hold, he would duck underneath and get away. Errol Spence isn't going to do that. Errol Spence, for me, I believe Pacquiao's right. He will fight fire with fire. He like to fight toe to toe. But in terms of, that doesn't mean that he's a better fighter than Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather obviously had the skill to completely neutralize Pacquiao. Because if it was that easy, listen, anyone that goes in the ring with Pacquiao wants to win. So if what Mayweather did, right, was so easy, then every fighter would try to execute that. But Mayweather was a master at executing that. The defensive work that Mayweather did in that fight was brilliant. It was boring and it made the fight terrible and it was a very poor watch. But Mayweather did what he had to do to win. I think the fight with Errol Spence is just a much more exciting fight, because I don't think Errol Spence is as disciplined as Mayweather. And I think Errol Spence is naturally, as Pacquiao said, a more aggressive, a more come-forward fighter. So I don't think we're going to see a fight like that. And I think Errol Spence also feels that he's a lot bigger than Pacquiao, which Mayweather didn't feel. Mayweather felt like Pacquiao could. The only way Pacquiao had a winning was Pacquiao landing something or Pacquiao landing flurries. And what Mayweather didn't want, Mayweather wanted to make it look like he was winning that fight easily, because he knew Pacquiao likes to throw punches in bunches. If those punches are landing or he's throwing those punches and it look like they're landing, Pacquiao might get the rounds. So Mayweather wanted to make it clear that he isn't landing any punches. That's why whenever Pacquiao got close, he would grab hold. If not, the few times that Pacquiao did have his success, they were landing on gloves. Mayweather was tucking up in the shield and they were landing on gloves. But Mayweather didn't want that. Mayweather didn't want that pattern throughout the fight, because the judges may have gone in Pacquiao's favor because of the fact that Pacquiao's throwing punches where Mayweather wasn't very active. Mayweather wasn't throwing a lot of punches, and Pacquiao's throwing punches in bunches. So he knows that the judges may have favored Pacquiao. That's why Mayweather adopted the tactic he adopted. He either, when Pacquiao got close, he would grab hold. If not, he would duck underneath and get out. That's what Mayweather was doing in that fight, because he wanted to neutralize Pacquiao completely. He wanted to give Pacquiao no chance of winning that fight, or in the judges' eyes, no chance of Pacquiao being able to get that decision. That's the kind of tactics Floyd Mayweather was trying to adopt in that fight. And I just think Pacquiao, ever since they fought, Pacquiao just didn't like that. Pacquiao obviously was very frustrated during the fight. And I just think that Pacquiao felt like that this guy's not a fighter, man. He likes to dance and move and a hugger and this, that, and the other. He doesn't like to fight. So I think Pacquiao was very, very frustrated. And that's when Pacquiao says that Errol Spence is a better fighter. I think he means more that Errol Spence comes to fight. Mayweather didn't come to fight. So I think Pacquiao was left kind of frustrated that why isn't this guy fighting me? Why isn't this guy going toe-to-toe with me? Why isn't this guy looking to have a fight? In boxing, there's no rules that state that you actually have to box that way. Mayweather's entitled to box the way he wants to, and he was using the sweet science, hit and not get hit. He was hitting Manny Pacquiao more than he was getting hit, and it was quite clean. He was showing the judges that he was landing the cleaner shots, and Manny was struggling to land the shots. And to be honest with you, Manny's not really had trouble on landing punches on opponent as he did with Mayweather. And I don't think he's going to have that much trouble landing the punches on Errol Spence as much as he did with Mayweather. I think Manny's going to land a lot more punches than he did on Mayweather. Mayweather, like I said, is just a defensive wizard. He's just a genius when it comes to defending and not getting hit. Mayweather's an artist at that. And you have to give a man credit where it's due. Mayweather's a very, very good defensive fighter. And I think Pacquiao found out the hard way against Mayweather. He was very, very good that night in terms of not getting hit. Now, did I enjoy the fight? And did I think it was a fight? No, it was terrible. This is why I'm not a big Mayweather fan and not a guy that, because I don't find his fights that exciting at all. I find his fights very boring. Now, people will say, oh, well, it's not about exciting fights, it's about winning. Yeah, fair enough. But when you look at some of when the fans look at it, they want to see good fights. They want to see exciting fights. Mayweather fights, some people enjoy that style, the sweet science and picking a guy apart. Fair enough, some people enjoy it. I don't, personally. It's not that I don't appreciate it. I appreciate it as a boxing fan. I appreciate what Mayweather did. It's just that it's not a very exciting style to me. It's not very fan-friendly. It's more of a guy just looking to win. Fair enough, but there's no excitement there. That's why Mayweather's fights weren't the most exciting fights. But Mayweather, the reason why he had such a huge viewership is because people wanted to see him lose. They wanted it earlier on in Mayweather's career, Mayweather was a more exciting fighter. But by the time Mayweather got to where after De La Hoya, a lot of people were watching Mayweather because he had built a name. People were watching him to see him lose, to see if somebody can actually beat him, because this old business, undefeated business, became such a big thing that became a marketing point, that became a selling point. That is this guy going to be the guy to beat him? Is this guy going to be the guy to beat him? Is this guy going to be the guy to beat him? So it almost became like, who's going to be that guy to crack Mayweather's code? Who's that guy that's going to be able to beat Mayweather? So that's why people were tuning in. People were tuning in if this would be the fight that Mayweather would finally take a loss. Whereas if Mayweather had taken a loss, I don't think his numbers would have been as big moving forward, because I actually think that would have been that. I think the selling point became towards the back end of Mayweather's career, where Mayweather made a lot of his money, was if this guy's going to be the guy that's going to take away his all. And I think it became more about that. And that's why Mayweather later on in his career managed to do so well financially, because I think people wanted to see him lose. And that was a lot of the selling points. That was why the numbers were so big. But yeah, what do you guys think about Manny Pacquiao talking about Floyd Mayweather? Manny Pacquiao saying that Errol Spence is a better fighter. For me, certainly not. Errol Spence isn't a better fighter than Floyd Mayweather, no, without question. I think Manny Pacquiao knows that. But I think what Manny Pacquiao was trying to point out, that he's a better fighter in terms he doesn't need to learn from Mayweather. He fights toe-to-toe. He'll probably teach Mayweather how to fight toe-to-toe. Basically implying that Mayweather wasn't a real fighter. Mayweather was a guy that used to dance and move and box. And I'm pretty sure Pacquiao didn't take too kindly to that. The fact that, he was saying that, he's going to help Errol Spence, give him pointers and help him get that win over Pacquiao. I'm pretty sure Pacquiao didn't really take too kindly for that. That's why Pacquiao said, I believe Errol Spence don't need any advice from Mayweather. He's better than Mayweather. I don't know whether he was genuine with that. Because I don't think Manny Pacquiao believes that Errol Spence is better than Floyd. I think it was more having a dig at Floyd's style and Floyd's way of fighting more than, you know, saying that his skill set is better than Mayweather's, because it's certainly not. Spence isn't better than Mayweather. Mayweather's one of the most difficult fighters to beat, you know, because of his defense is so immaculate. Spence doesn't have that same kind of ability when it comes to defense. Spence has a decent defense. He does a lot of things good, Spence, but just not in the same league as Mayweather. Mayweather was something else. But leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.